what's up? It's Greg. I know you guys have seen a lot of photos of my barbecue that I've been putting on Facebook and whatnot. So I thought this time I'd actually go through the entire process of how I prepare the ribs. And hopefully you'll enjoy this and maybe be inspired to do some of your own. I know some of you probably have said, oh, I make barbecue, but putting meat in a crock pot for 20 hours and then putting barbecue sauce on it isn't barbecuing, sorry. So I want to try to show you the process of trimming the ribs back to St. Louis style and going through the whole process of applying the rub and then making sauce and then through the smoke process. So today we're going to trim up some Kroger brand spare ribs. Got them here. They were on sale the other day. We get them out of the package. We're going to wash them up, rinse them off, and then pat dry them, and then go from there. So just trying to get this bag open and get the rib out. There's the full slab of spare rib. I'm just going to run it under the sink real quick to rinse off all the blood. If you're getting grossed out, I apologize, but it has to be done. You want to get in all these little flaps and whatnot. Shake it off a little bit. Then lay it up here on your cutting board. And I already got some paper towel laid down to soak up that water, and a couple other towels. Just pat dry it, try to get all that standing water off, and then we'll start trimming this thing up. This slab of ribs is about 6 pounds of meat. Once it gets trimmed up, of course, it'll be quite a bit less than that. When you cut them back to, call them St. Louis style, you trim them way down and get rid of all this extra meat. But you still use it. You don't throw that stuff away. You can actually make a version of pulled pork while you make your ribs. So you kind of get double the fun out of doing this. It is a labor-intensive process, but the rewards are well worth it because everybody loves a good slab of ribs. And I'm afraid probably somebody out there is, oh yeah, I like ribs. They always come to McDonald's once a year and squish between two soggy buns. Sorry, that's a McRib, and it's nothing like what we're going to do today. So we'll start. What we want to do is these bones in here, we're trying to get them separate. So we're going to come in here with a nice sharp knife. We're going to trim back all this fat, and then right in through here, cut this flap of skin off. And I'm going to just set it off here to the side for now. Trim all this off. And all this will still be cooked. I'll just cook it separately in the smoker, and it'll make some decent pulled pork. A lot of good dark meat in there. It'll make some nice pulled pork. So you come in here, you want to feel where the ribs start, and you just get in there with a good sharp knife. You feel around and cut on through. Come down this other end. Feel real good. Try not to cut your fingers off because that's never any fun. And just kind of follow this rib line where the bones stop. And all this, what's in this stuff I'm cutting off, it's kind of like where most restaurants, I believe, make their rib tips from. These weird little sideways bones. You try to get all those cut out as best you can. But like I said, you still use all that meat. See, there's a A lot of meat right there. That's still one you can put in the smoker later. And I'll rub all that down also after a bit. We'll have some nice pulled pork along with this stuff. So this will go off here to the side. So that's about your rack. I'm going to trim it up a little better, make it look a little nicer. What I like to try to do is get them to about 19 inches long, and that's just my personal preference because my smoker is 19 inches deep, so it makes it a little easier when you're working in your grill or in your smoker to not have your ribs bigger than what you can cook on, because then you run into problems with your ribs touching the back of your smoker and all that stuff, and I don't like that. So I'll just trim them up a little bit, try to make them look a little nicer. Got some decent bones in there. Just gonna be some good eating. It's not perfectly straight, but not too bad. Let me flip it over. You get this little excess fat off here at the top too. Then most of this will melt away in the cooking process, but it's just extra stuff that we don't really need to mess with. So I'll just throw that away. Try to get in here and trim back some of this fat as much as you can. That way you can get your rub down to right down to the meat and not be wasting it on the fat. So this other stuff that'll melt away, that'll be good. Cut off this little bone here on the end because it's kind of just in the way. Trim that baby off. Alright, we're going to flip it back over. Now we're going to remove the membrane off the back side of this slab of ribs. Most restaurants will not do this just because it is labor intensive, can be difficult, and it's kind of time consuming. But if you don't do it, then you don't really season the back side of your ribs, and no one likes single-sided seasoned meat. So I'm just trying to get in here a little better with these little pieces, trim that up a little bit, and then we'll take this membrane off. So give me a second and we'll get right to it. A good way to remove the membrane is using a paper towel. You make a little, I think that'll work. You make a little score on the back side of this membrane. All it is this kind of shiny stuff here on the back side of the rib, if you can see that. And you just want to remove as much of that as possible. And it's hard to do just with your fingers. So you get your knife on the bone, just try to peel that up, and once you make pretty much all the way across, if you can, or even just slice it, and then once it kind of frees itself up, start trying to pull it back a little bit with the knife, like that. You should take a piece of paper towel. Always have some ready. You don't want to go touching stuff. You just kind of fold it up. You want to grab that piece of membrane with that paper towel. And the more you do, the better you get at it. I know the first time I did that, it took me forever. But you reach in there with your paper towel and you pull that membrane off. That way, see, it exposes all this back side of that rib meat. That way, when you put your rub on, you can really get to both sides of the meat, and you got two-sided seasoned meat, and that's good. I think I got it all. Pretty sure. I got a little bit left up here around the top side of the ribs, but that's thinner. Just by doing this, you can see I'm pulling some of it away. But yeah, I got all the real thick off, so that's good. So now we're actually ready to apply the rub. I'm just finding some pieces that are still kind of hanging weird. Trying to trim it up nice. Anyway, so now we're going to apply the rub. We'll start with the bone side, and you just want to try to spread it out a little bit, nice and wide. And what I do, my process is yellow mustard as a base. You rub that all over it real good, both sides, and that just helps the rub actually stick to the meat. Sometimes people use some olive oil or vegetable oil, but the mustard, it has a vinegar in it, and that helps break the meat down, but also gives a good flavor to it also. And you're not going to taste mustard when you're done cooking, so if people don't like mustard, don't worry about that. That flavor will be gone. So I just dip my fingers in that stuff, and I just rub it all over the back side of the ribs. You want to get it covered all real good, even here on the ends, all over it. You want that rub to stick everywhere there's meat. I'm going to do this on the back side. You can see. Alright. Rub it all in there real good. Alright, now I'm going to flip it over. Because again, we want two-sided seasoned meat, not single-sided. Rub that yellow mustard in real good. And you just want to put enough on there to coat the meat. I actually put a little bit too much, but that's okay. I can wipe some off. It's not going to hurt if you got too much. Look how meaty that is. That's going to be some good eating. Oh, it's going to be awesome. Some good looking meat, good looking ribs right here. Anyway, rub that mustard in. Alrighty. Nice and coated, even on the ends. I'll flip it back over. Now we'll start putting that rub on. And this rub is it's a recipe I bought offline. You can get it yourself if you want it from smokingmeat.com. A guy out of Oklahoma named is Jeff. Has a lot of good insight on barbecuing. Has a really good blog, a lot of good monthly recipes you can subscribe to, and you can buy his recipes, and they're really good. So anyway, we're just gonna grab some of this rub and just sprinkle it all over the back side of the ribs. Just use the bowl, coat it real generously. We're gonna go back over these babies. Alright, we're just going to rub all that in. Rub all that in. And what you want to do, you're not wanting to move them now until this rub starts to look a little wet. And what that's done then is soaked up the moisture out of the mustard, soaked up whatever left moisture out of the meat. Pack all that rub down in there real good. Might put too much, but it'll be alright. We'll still eat them. Just gonna press. Alright. Gonna let them sit there for a second, and let them just soak in that moisture. So while we'll do that, we'll get right back to you.